Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 549. My opponent kicked off with d4 and I played knight f6. This allows a number of different openings, the Nimzo Indian, the Grinfeld, the King's Indian, those kind of things. But my opponent played knight f3, which defeats most of the openings that I know anyway. I should say I just don't know what to play against it, so I don't know any particular line. So I continue with d5, which is reasonable way to play. Just put a pawn in the center, and you see it's the most popular move in that case. Although I could have continued with e6 or g6 apparently, but I wouldn't know those lines. Anyway, my opponent continues with g3 here. Now normally when knight f3 is played, it's with the intention of going into one of these quiet systems with e3, that's the call system, bishop f4, the London system, or bishop g5, the Tory attack. c4, the most popular move in the database, this is just a way of transposing back into the Queen's Gambit. So all those are well-known ways to play. I'm not so familiar with this g3 move, though, on move 3, but it's in the database, so reasonably often that it occurs. So I continue with e6, which seems logical, seems like it's approved by the database here. I was a little bit confused when I was playing the game. I was thinking about playing e5 at some point, but e5 I think is probably never going to happen in this position. He's got that pretty well controlled with his knight and his pawn, and he can bring up a bishop to support that square as well. So e6 is just fine. And then he comes out with the pen bishop g5, probably a mistake. I think continuing with bishop g2 is the most logical way to continue. Anyway, he goes bishop g5. I unpin first. Here we're just out of the opening book. Goes bishop g2, and now I kick the bishop. And this is the reason why the bishop g5 is a mistake. It has no squares to go to on the queen side. I'll just kick it again with the move g5 and even trap it if he goes to h4. So he has to either retreat or trade for the knight. He chose to trade, and that gives me a slight edge here. I have the advantage of the bishop pair. Not a big deal. But anyway, white has given up the opening advantage. And now the c3 move, I think it is more logical to play c4 and try and open up the light squared diagonal. But he has a different plan here. So c3, I castle, knight bd2. His plan is to continue with e4 and open up the center that way. And I don't really do anything about it. Right here would be a good opportunity for me to try and counter his plan with the move b6, so that I would have bishop b7 in the mix. B6 castles. So I was just wondering if b6, if he can play, can he play e4 right away? Yeah, that is a move. Then bishop to a6 is interesting, preventing him from castling. Or c5. Just thinking taking, and then bishop b7. Knight takes f6 with check. Yeah, he gains some tempos there, so that so if he did play e4 in this position, it's better not to take. I need to kind of shore up things over here first. So c5, bishop a6, bishop b7. And I would probably have played bishop b7. And now he can push on with e5 if he wants to. Although that kind of closes things up and leaves his bishop a pretty sad piece over there. So nothing to be afraid of. E takes d5 is the top choice, and I take back with the bishop, and black is okay. So anyway, that was one chance to play b6. I get this opportunity later. Anyway, I continue with knight d7. I'm thinking of playing c5 myself to soften up the center. Now he goes e4. And once again, when I take, it actually gives some edge to white here, so I should probably do something else. c6, just defending the center, is the way to play. Okay, but I took, he takes, and now it chases my bishop back. I don't want to give up that bishop for a knight, give up the advantage of the bishop pair. He castles. And right here, here's another chance to play that b6 move. Put the bishop here, while there's a couple of knights in the way of his bishop, so there's no tactics on the long diagonal hitting the loose rook in the corner. So right here is just this one moment in time where I can play that b6 move, and I should probably take advantage of it. Instead, I played the routine move, knight f5, and after knight e5, he's actually doing pretty well. White's gone from being worse to better. And then, well, I make things worse by playing c5. I don't know what I was thinking during this game, but this pawn is defended. I mean, this pawn can just be taken here. He can take with either the knight or the pawn. He chose to take with the pawn, and I was about to take back when I noticed that it was defended here. So now I have to worry about things happening on the long diagonal. So I get my rook out of the way. He goes knight to d6. He hops his knight right in here, and that's pretty good move, pretty good square for the knight. And now he takes, let's see, he could take the bishop or the knight. He chose to take the knight. And comes out with queen b3. But even better would be just the move b4 here, holding on to his pawns. You'll see that he's got a pawn advantage. I don't have any compensation, really. My bishops are pretty sad right now. They're all hemmed in by his pawns or by my pawns, and I would have trouble untangling. So that's probably a winning advantage for white here with just the move b4. Anyway, he played queen b3. Let me have a pawn back. But I returned the favor to him soon enough. He played rook a d1. Yeah, right here. Well, b6 is not as bad a mistake as I thought. Let's see. Or he didn't. It is a mistake, but he didn't follow up in the best, most precise way. So he could just bring his rook out to e1. Why is that so good? Rook to e1. If I play bishop b7 here, then he has knight to d7. Yeah, he's just got an active knight with rooks behind it, and he's hitting my rook. Let's see, I take the bishop, takes back. I bring my rook over here. Seems like I've escaped without losing any material. But the chess engine likes this position quite a lot for white. It's pretty interesting. Maybe a4 to bust up the queen side. Yeah, but that would have been a way to... that would have been the best play for white. He played this move, knight to c6, and I didn't find a way to respond to this. But there was one move here that solves all the problems. But first of all, this knight to c6 move makes two threats, so it's a little bit tricky to deal with. It's threatening the rook, and it's also threatening rook to d8, which would win the queen for rook and knight, because the queen has no squares to go to after rook d8. The queen is actually trapped there. So that's a funny queen trap. And the way to defend it is to play the move bishop a6, which defends against both threats. The rook here defends against that rook d8 incursion, and if he takes my rook, my bishop is also attacking his rook. So that turns into just a trade. So that would have been how to hold on in this game. So the actual move that I played that puts me in a losing position once again is bishop b7. But I really couldn't find a way to meet all those threats. It's interesting that there was one. So now he grabs the exchange and trades bishops. And he's just winning here. So let's just fast forward. This is a long game, and I want to get to some of the key parts. There's one more. There's another point or two I want to make about the endgame. So we'll go forward. He just keeps the advantage all the way through. In fact, he builds on it because he gets these pawns over here, and they're very dangerous, those passed pawns. Right here, he should go on to win. I think the move queen to b7 is the simplest way to win here. Just push that pawn forward. So I'm not sure what he was thinking with this queen c5 move. This allows me to get a pawn back, and moreover, it's this far advanced pawn. So I have hopes of blockading this pawn and holding on. But he continues playing. The thing is, as we trade down, we get into an endgame here, and this endgame is not at all clear in spite of the large evaluation that that is in favor of white here. I think technically white should be able to win this. A rook is a much more valuable piece than a bishop, particularly in the endgames, and he has this passed pawn, which my bishop is tied up blockading all the time. But somehow, if you look at the evaluation, it doesn't ever seem to rise much above this 3.5 level. I think, maybe he needed to activate his king a little quicker, get it over here. But we're just going to go forward a bunch of moves and get to a more of a skeleton position here of rook versus bishop, where he's attacking the rook right here. Played king e4. So he started wandering around with the king. He kind of ran out of ideas. The thing is, so I was just convinced white should go on to win this. But as I followed different lines from this point of view, from this point forward, trying to find what's that winning line for white, and I could not find one. This bishop is actually really well posted to stop this pawn from coming forward. The king can't get in to support the pawn, because between my bishop and my king, I keep his king out of all those squares. If his king tries to run this way, I can just check with the bishop again. So it's difficult to come up with a plan here. I could not find one for white that actually wins in this position. And I let the chess engine run for a long time, and it never rises above this level of 3.8, which is it's just a sort of a material evaluation based on the rook and passed pawn versus bishop and pawn. So it's kind of funny, but I'm not at all convinced that white can win this game. So that's one point. It may be that this is a defensive setup that actually holds for black, and we're already in a drawn position. But anyway, he wanders around with his king, and at a certain point, it becomes clearly drawn. Yeah, right here, even the evaluation shifts down. We get this trade. I trade my pawn for his pawn, and now it's just a rook versus a bishop. And the point I wanted to make about this is that this is a draw, but there are a few things you have to watch out for. And the one thing you want to avoid is if you're trying to defend this position with the bishop, you want to avoid putting your king in these corners, the corners that have the same color as the bishop. And I just wanted to show you why. So suppose, let's see, it's white's turn, so let's go forward a move. I'm just going to make some nonsense moves here to set up the condition that I want to get to. Say I walk to the corner where I don't belong. Let's see. Oh, it's my turn. And now it's checkmate. His king has got my king in the corner, and I can't stop the checkmate. And it doesn't matter where my bishop is. If we back up, say I put the bishop on this diagonal, trying to control the main diagonal. Of course he can take it, but we'll ignore that. Let's say I walk to the corner, he goes here. It's still mate. It doesn't matter, even though I have a move with the bishop, it doesn't matter what I do. I can't stop him from coming to this square and delivering that mate. And having the bishop over here doesn't help. So, and the same thing for this corner. So you just, if you have the bishop, you want to avoid the color that's the same, avoid the square that's the same color as the bishop. So we go back here, and let's see, he went there. If I run the other way, though, and he brings his king in. Let's see, I just stay on this diagonal. And then he comes in with the check. You use the bishop to block the check. So that's why it's important that you're in a corner that's the opposite of the color of the bishop, because the bishop can then block these checks. And now it's white's turn to move. And he has to retreat the rook off the back rank. If he keeps the rook on the back rank, it's just immediate stalemate. There's no moves there. So that's just game over. And if he retreats the king to give you a square to go to, let's see, you have this square. He can check some more, but you just go back. And basically it's just a stalemate anytime he tries to creep in and deliver that final mate. And of course checks from this side can be blocked by the bishop coming this way. So that's how you can defend this. So just avoid the dark squared corners, and you should be okay when you have the bishop. And on the other hand, if you have the rook against bishop and king, you want to try and drive the king into a square which is the same color as his bishop, which can happen sometimes depending on it. Okay, well that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon.